Let's get into the charts, huh?
Let's get right into the charts.
Well, but before we do, please like and subscribe.
Oh, hey guys, hit the like and subscribe button and hit the bell.
The current price of FUV sitting at a nice $11.30, which makes me cry because it was at $37. I should have sold some. we talked about this before. Everyone makes mistakes in investing. Sometimes you have to take profits. Oh boy. So we're sitting here at a market cap of $427 million. So still
over a billion. It was over
a billion. That's right. Well, at the peak, was it $1.5 billion? Is that right?
3680. Yeah, easily over.
Yeah, it might have been $1.5 billion approximately. So market cap is way down, which might be a good opportunity to DCA back in if you're looking at this stock.
Still a big short interest.
31.77% shorted. The current short volume is 9.2 million shares. And there's only, remember, 27 million shares approximately, or 28.
A third of the shares, yeah.
28. So, right, a third of the shares are shorted. And if you're looking now, by the way, this is days to cover. So how long it takes to get rid of the shorted shares? It's the highest it's ever been. It's 7 days now, 6.9. Well, basically, this is saying that if FUV has any good news, Arcimoto has any good news, I think the shorts might get squished, at least for a little bit.
Contemporaneously, as our balance sheet has strengthened, we have noticed a meaningful rise in the number of market bets against the company. You can refer back to our last two webinars if you want more color on some of the knock-on ecosystem effects.
Or a freelancer finance video that covers the short.
To provide some perspective on relative size, short sellers of our stock collectively had short positions that totaled almost double the amount of funding the company is presently contemplating requesting in its next ATVM loan application revision. Moving on.
Arcimoto is a heavily shorted company. And if they're right, look, it's going to drag the stock price down further. And when we go into the chart, I think it's looking bearish. I don't think it's looking bullish right now.
What do you think of him responding to the short sellers?
He really hates them, sort of just like Elon Musk hates all the short sellers. And I don't mind that he responds, but at this point, I don't know if he has to anymore. We already know what he thinks about it.
I feel like it's suffice to say, we'll see you next quarter.
Let's look at the interest, just like you said. Here is December calls and puts. The calls, we have a $20 calls at around 1,156 open interest with a volume of 27 and 1,400 of the puts for $10. So is it super imbalanced? I think it's even the second position here, the puts is 618 for 750. And I'm one of those that sold a cash covered puts at 750. So people paid me being super bearish about it. I'm actually
can you show 750 on the chart where that is, that if that's a support level?
Yes, I can show you. It's actually $8 is the support.
Okay, so they're thinking it's going back. They're thinking it's going back to that's
and it did, right, but it touched 750 approximately.
All right. So that's where they're shorting it back down to. That's the level they're okay, so the most number are the $10 strikes.
$10 strikes. Okay.
Calls. There's 32 calls, and then for the puts.
Right. And volume here, 1250.
1250. Okay.
I think they're thinking that maybe for the next 6 months to year, we can short this. But if they start showing numbers, we got to be out of that short. That's what I think. I
actually think it's more sinister than that. I think short sellers understand that FUV still uses stock dilution to fund their operations. And so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Short the stock down to its previous support level. When it drops down, they're going to be hesitant to further dilute themselves. And it can actually cause business problems that then
if they need more money, you're saying, to raise. And that is true. If they were smart, I think they would just get some money now, take the hit short term.
If they do that now, the short sellers will use that. If you're shorting this, I can see a strategy being like, well, we can't get it this year. Keep shorting it down to previous levels, put the squeeze on the company so they can't get that liquidity. And maybe in a year, we then can short it to 250 and get the profits. Because if you can create a liquidity problem for the company, that can actually hamper their ability to perform quarter over quarter.
This is what they have. They have, last report, it's a little bit lower than 2020 when they raised money. It's around 38.5 million. Let's see their liabilities real quick, okay? 6.5 million. So they have 40 million approximately.
That jump from 2.9 to 6.5 is the reinvestment in the factory. I'm just trying to get an idea of what their burn rate is.
Right. You want to see what are they actually making? What are they getting, right?
Or if they don't make any money and they're not going to be profitable for a while.
I think you're looking at this. You're looking at revenues. This is what you're looking at.
Listen, let me tell you something right now. If you invest in Virgin Galactic, you know these numbers because that company is making no money and they're just burning through it. So
last year was 2 million. This year it's 3.1. So it's growing pretty massively. You're talking about they grew 50% in revenue. The year's not over yet. This is estimated. but basically they're still losing money. So gross profit was negative 8.4 million. So there you go. My point is, okay, they have some money on hand. That's my point. It's not like they're going bankrupt tomorrow. So the shorts, what you're talking about, might have to sustain this for a few years, not just 1 year or several quarters. So we'll see what happens.
This company is particularly vulnerable to liquidity issues. It's the first
Absolutely.
time that I ever thought of short sellers potentially using a short position as a catalyst to create real problems that they can then cite as a reason to short them. So it's like
Right.
shorting them to create the scenario that justifies a short.
It's like you're trying to hobble a company that might succeed by basically just bringing them down, being able to take away the money from them, like you said, the liquidity from the market, so they can't raise any more capital. And companies like this raise capital every year. Let's face it. I'm going to be diluted for the rest of my life probably with Arcimoto, or at least 5 years out. And Tesla did the same thing. It's just that Tesla survived that period of 10 years of shorting. Now, can Arcimoto do the same, basically, right?
When we went public in 2017, I had no prior experience as a public company CEO. And early on, this was one of the things we should have done prior to the IPO was increase our available share pool. We discovered at that point that it is much better to have the capability to issue shares when you need them than to need them and not have them.
He doesn't really just go directly and say, look, hey people, I'm going to be issuing shares as this company grows. And I have the platform too, the flatbed, all these vehicles. How do you think we're going to build these factories and do these things? Well, we're going to dilute you suckers. Okay. Nobody wants to say that outright because it doesn't sound great to say, I'm going to dilute the shareholders. But I don't see any other way that a growth company can do that. Any growth company, right? At least in the beginning. It's only later, once they've established some foothold, that they might be buying back shares or like massive, share buybacks.
What he was saying was that it was due to his inexperience as a CEO of a publicly traded company. He didn't issue enough shares at the onset. They were in danger of not having enough. So it seems like he's just correcting a mistake that they would have caught pre-IPO, and when FUV IPO'd, it would have had 100 million shares. So
well, I know what you're saying.
Quarter. I'm saying,
yeah,
but that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying this quarter, and you take him at face value unless you see something else.
Every growth company will dilute you. So as soon as Mark goes through his 100 million shares, he's going to figure out he needs 150 million shares. Okay. So this is going to happen. And I understand that going into this company, that's going to happen as long as they keep proving that they're growing and building factories and selling FUVs. This is all kosher to me. I'm fine with it.
People out there might not know what like share dilution is, but it's essentially like inflation. It's the same effect that inflation has on money in a fiat currency, right? I mean, that's essentially what it does. It makes it that there's just so much of a circulating supply that no one individual share is worth anything. And there's so many shares available that even an introduction of liquidity doesn't have as much of an effect. So yes, it's like, it's a bad thing.
The problem with share dilution, even if the stock price stays the same, is that all of a sudden the market cap is now ballooned. So now if we thought we were going to get 100 billion Arcimoto, but he releases 10 times the amount of shares, maybe we get there faster, but your share price really didn't go up. Right. So, we want the share appreciation, and we want to have like something special, like Bitcoin, right? We want Bitcoin shares, basically. There's a third vehicle that was in one of Mark's pictures, or Galley's pictures, Galley from Hyperchange. And that looks like obviously an unfinished prototype, but it's some sort of single person occupant type of trike.
This vehicle will be chock full of new electric vehicle technology. We are actually reinventing the wheel this time. We believe it will perfectly complement our go-to-market strategy of rentals and rideshare, and will set a new bar for efficiency, utility, and affordability for a wide range of transportation tasks.
I want to show you guys the AMP, the Arcimoto factory, Arcimoto manufacturing plant here in Eugene, combining Arcimoto's electric drivetrain, three-wheeled electric vehicle technology with this new next generation tilting stuff. I think that's amazing, epic potential.
Take it easy, guys.
There.
Top secret test of the new Arcimoto Gen 2 platform vehicle. First ride ever. Let's see how it goes.
Obviously, you can't see it.
Here he goes.
But
oh my God.
Wow, absolutely epic first ride in the Generation 2 or Platform 2 vehicle.
What I really liked about the Gen 2, we discussed this the last time, is how they move the position of the rider to the weight of the rider is over the back wheel. It's almost like a chariot. You know, like you have a chariot, you have the horses up front, and they're sort of steering, but you're in this sort of base of stability.
I mean, $2,000 honestly for a fancy trike is still a little bit too much. She really has to get these prices way lower. I assume that'll come with time, but
I actually no, I actually disagree. I think 2,000 is a
that's a toy for rich people.
Look up right now what a one wheel costs. You'd be surprised.
Wheel.
You're telling me $2,000 for an FUV is a lot of money when that thing's a wheel?
I know, that's funny.
You know what I'm saying? And you're telling me an FUV at $2,000? You could
okay, well, okay. Look,
crazy.
compared to this, it's a freaking steal. Okay, it's a freaking steal.
You know what I'm saying?
Mark, you're doing an amazing job there. But if that is supposed to compete against like the electric bike, possibly, you can get a cheap electric bike now. You don't have to pay $2,000, $3,000 for. If you want to, you can, of course.
Right, but the first thing with that is with an electric bike, you have to balance it yourself. This thing is self-balancing, so it's right. Basically it's stationary, right? So you ride it more like a car. You're not balancing it at a red light. You're not putting a foot down. Right. You know what I'm saying?
You can sit there. Right.
You're sitting in it. Yeah.
They have such minimal resources that I would like to see the Deliverator, Rapid Responder, all these FUV. I would like to see those in the market completely running operational before they start making like their 10th vehicle. That's what it seems like. They're onto a whole new platform, and they might be spending resources for this. And you know, once again, I knew you don't exactly agree with this, but I feel like they're diverting resources from something that should happen later. That's right. What I think.
If they weren't doing that, I would be worried, honestly, because I feel like what they're saying is that they basically gotten platform 1 to the end of its life cycle. They can do no more with that, and they need a completely new platform to serve the needs of the next vehicle that they want to make. And if the engineers that are responsible for the design of platform 1 are moving on to platform 2, it tells me that there's no longer a need for that level engineer to fix the problems or to move the platform 1, right? And if you look at the factory, we talked about the factory is predominantly an assembly factory, right, versus being a manufacturing, right? So they're not fabricating parts as much in that factory as they are assembling parts. That to me tells me that platform 1 is ready to go. They've worked out all the kinks. They're just now figuring out supply line issues, and it's basically a race. It's just a conveyor belt.
Right. Your whole thing is like the mechanical genius who's designing these things. Well, he's done with the platform 1 SUV.
Right, his part is done,
and he can move on to this new thing and start focusing on something else, maybe. But that's a good question we should bring up with Mark. And I don't think anyone's asking this.
I'd love to ask them, because that would make me more bullish on the company. What it would mean is that he's confident enough that whatever needs to be handled on platform 1 is done. It's now just a matter of time and certain labor hour resources and money, right? At this point now, they can get ready to do the next thing.
I'm pretty sure for such a small company, remember, Mark has been working on this for a decade, this one platform. So you might say, oh, it should be done. I don't think so. I don't think it's that simple. But once again, I think we should just go directly to the source. Or
it could be just, the law of diminishing returns. The longer you keep that team trying to perfect platform 1,
it's never out
behind you put yourself, because if you think about it, if and when the FUV,
dude, they don't even have full doors on it yet. So this engineer better get busy. Okay, you keep telling me it needs full doors.
For me to even consider purchasing one, yes, I would need to have full doors. Right. Look, I don't think I'm ever a customer. I'm an investor, but I would not ever be a customer. Right. There's no use case where I feel like having one of these would be better than even the Nissan Leaf that I have back there.
I think the point you're missing, though, is if you buy this vehicle, you're just having a good time going to different places. That it's not just you're driving there, but you're enjoying the drive.
Okay.
When you get there, and go somewhere.
But then I'll give you an example. Then what you're saying is it's like a quad. I would buy a quad. I would buy a quad and still have to put it on the back of a real vehicle to tow it to the place where I can go have fun with it. Right. If I want to take that, I live in the Valley in California. If I wanted to take that thing around the pier in Santa Monica, that would be great. But in order to get there and get that vehicle there, how do I do that? I still have to attach it to my other vehicle. It's like a jet ski.
Hold on.
It's like a jet ski, or I'm not going to take anything on the highway.
Hold on. You're saying the FUV, you're not willing to actually drive it to Santa Monica?
I'm not driving that thing on the 405 at 70 miles an hour to Santa Monica in LA traffic, with people doing 95, 100 miles an hour. I would never do that.
You might have a point, because in the world of giant SUVs, if you get hit, it's basically you're on a motorcycle, right? It's over for you. But a lot of people do ride their motorcycles on the 405 and are totally fine with it. So
I think their vehicles the best uses are in cities with mild climate. Is that enough of a big addressable market to think that someone's got to fix this problem? I do think that there's the cars actually.
Well,
already solve
remember,
that
there's the
problem.
whole rental business. There's the rapid responder. There's the deliberator. So they have a lot of these sections. There's a flatbed, like sort of mini truck that
Right.
they're
No,
working on.
we talked about this. I am an investor in the company because I believe that they're going to be acquired. I don't think if me,
Mark, you hear that? Come on.
I'm serious. Me and it doesn't look, but that's not.
Okay,
Look,
look,
Frame.io. Wait, hold on. Frame.io
hold
just
on.
got acquired.
If the stock drops anymore, Mark, I'm acquiring you. Okay.
Frame.io just got acquired. Okay. Mark Cuban is an early investor. I think their evaluation was something like 50 billion. I don't even know, but like
Right.
they just got acquired by Adobe, and Emery is still running the company. It's not like a negative thing to say that FUV could get acquired.
Well,
I
it's
actually think-
negative. Hold on. It is negative for the investors who want the 100x, 50x. It is negative because you've capped right away. You've capped it. It becomes part of a conglomerate, and we don't know how to value it anymore.
But who's to
It's
say
done.
that? Okay, but I'm not saying it's going to get acquired tomorrow. And again,
Right.
Elon Musk had a great quote about FSD. Actually doing
Right.
good is better than the perception of doing good. So if Mark's goal is to increase adaptation of these vehicles, to increase our transition to sustainable energy, and getting acquired helps that goal,
it.
then you have to say, well, if you don't, then you have to.
Well,
you know
no.
what I'm
Well,
saying?
once again, there's two
It
things at
reveals
play.
intentions.
I see what you're saying about the acquisition thing, because that is a possibility. A $500 million company. Listen, if Mark gets big enough, maybe it's like 2 billion and they're selling, let's say 10,000 of these things like we
How
keep
much
discussing.
GM bought
But hold on,
10%?
hold on. I'm saying if they're selling like 10,000, maybe at that point, whoever needs a delivery service, maybe Walmart or Amazon, they're like, you know what, this company, $2 billion bucks. It'd be good for us to do the last mile thing. Let's just buy them out. Would you have any pocket change, Amazon, Jeff Bezos?
Yeah.
Let's take it out.
Basically, I don't think it would be like an Amazon or a Walmart that's looking for the vehicles as part of their fleet. I think it would be a car company or
Like GM or something like that.
a car company or a motorcycle company. Like, couldn't you see? I don't know. I could see, Harley Davidson.
Yeah,
You could make these things cool. Kawasaki.
Yeah.
You could make these things. You could make these things cool. You could fit this into your lineup. Look, the point is, electrification's here to stay. EVs are here to stay, and that's not just cars. It's inevitable, and
Yeah,
so
of
it's
course.
disrupting everything. So like. We're looking at the car companies now, and that's like the Bitcoin. But in the altcoin worlds, that's the FUVs and the smaller sort of the Lion
Right.
Electrics, right? I could totally see them being. Look, if GM bought 10% of Nikola, which was vaporware, like literally vaporware, a company like FUV that is expanding on their own, and it has very much an attitude of, we're going to do it whether you're with us or not. Like, we're doing this anyway. Why wouldn't you partner with them? He has the
Right.
products. He's got a 10-year plan. They have the company. They have a loyal fan base. Here's the thing. Nikola was, Trevor Milton was hoping that Nikola would be popular with the
Right.
with fans, that he would have a real fan base.
Well, he wanted that to
And
cash out and take the money off the
Well,
investors.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it also for his
Which he
ego.
did.
He always wanted Nikola to be one of those stocks like a Tesla, like an Apple, that people
Of
are
course.
just real fanboys of it, real fans of the CEO. FUV
Right.
already has that. People are real fans of Mark and the company, and they're really bullish on it. They want it to succeed, and they're putting their money in.
We're in a channel trading, obviously, sort of sideways. We're sticking around the $12 price. At some point, maybe, let me extend this a little bit. We're going to come up to a point, probably October, let's say October 20th, unless there's any real news about FUV, any
22nd.
positive news. I don't see this breaking up. I only see this going back to test the main trend, which is probably around the $10 mark.
It touched it. The first time it touched it. It was a resistance point. The second time it touched it, it blew past it. The third time, fourth and fifth time, it was a support line. So it's resistance turned into support. But
we're also in a bigger trend here. There's a big downtrend. So let's discuss this for a second. So you're not just in this uptrend. At the same time, look, we're in a big downtrend. So if we're talking like just charting, not fundamentals here, we can end up being right here at $8 in February of 2022. That's where we can be.
Oh, I don't see that. I see that. I see what you're saying. I see the trend line off of the blow off peak, but that's a blow off peak. I don't think you're going to see. I mean, look at the movement. Just measure the movement to that peak off of the top
the reason
trend line.
I know what you're saying, but the reason this won't happen, only one reason. Q4, Mark says we're making more vehicles next year. We can break this downward trend. Q3, he's not going to say that. He's already lowered his estimates in Q2. So I'm thinking Q3 is bearish. And if quarter three is bearish, we can last a while. As long as it's over $8, I say we're not screwed. That's what I'm trying to get at. That I think it's actually a bullish sign if we stay over $8, hold it, and then break out even in February. I still think that's a bullish sign, and I'm not selling anything.
What I think is that $8 support level, if it gets tested again at this point, it's not just a support level, it's broken an overall trend. You understand? Like I understand what you're saying about support levels, but it still has to be within the band. You know, it has to still be within the channel.
Well, no, I know it doesn't have to.
That is
honestly.
Look, $8. All I'm saying is this: $8 in May. Yeah. $8 in May is whatever is normal, is the bottom of the trend line. $8 in December is a 40% drop from the trend. So time is a factor. It can't just hit that price at $8 forever.
Well, let's see the drop. Let's see the drop. If it happens here and it plays out the way I'm saying, possibly, it's only a 20% drop to $8. It's not exactly.
But it's a 20% drop from, but now do that.
No, but this is a volatile stock. It can easily touch $8. The fact that you're thinking it can never touch $8 again is crazy.
No,
it's a volatile stock.
I'm not saying it can't. But what I'm saying is it means something different, because if it's in or out of the channel, in other words, even with the run up, if that run up was within the channel, I don't think you would have seen the sell-off that we saw. It's because it was so far out of the band of where it should be, in air quotes, that
right here,
that big blow off in February or whatever that was, January, that big blow off was such a run up off of not just the top of the channel, not off the trend line, but the top of the channel, that it triggered a massive sell-off. And that's what we're seeing the bounce back from it now, is it's finding support among new investors, or the people that sold out at $36 are looking for an entry point to buy back in. I think that time has something to do with it. Like, we didn't just arrive at $11. We came from 36. So if I say $8 is, I don't know, man. Before that point, $8 was, what was it? The all-time high at that point was $8.
Yeah, it was $8, right?
You know what I'm saying? So the idea of it being at $36 from that point was like insane. Like, then we'd be like, what are you talking about? It just made all-time highs, and now you think it's going to 4x from its all-time high? That's insane.
Right.
Then it does it. Boom. I think it triggered out a bunch of people that were looking to hold long-term that then became short-term investors when they were sitting on profits. And that's
sorry, Mark, I should have been one of those.
Even you were like, right?
Obviously you decide for yourselves, but there's two things happening. One is it is following a trend, but the other one, there's another trend that's going straight down. So both things are possible. I think we can stay and hold a 10. And this is the point where we'll be basically at $12 before we break out, right? And that'll be in December, which would be a great time to break out when stocks are bullish too, right? Mm-hmm. So if stocks are bullish in December, we might be breaking out over here at a roughly $12 up. There's not a lot of things pushing the stock price up. Let me put it this way.